Very good, thank you. Welcome. This is the June meeting of the Northborough Conservation Commission. My name is Greg Young. I'm the chair of the commission. And this open meeting of the Northborough Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Healy's executive order of March 29th, 2023, an act relative to the extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. All members of the Northborough Conservation Commission are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the Northborough Conservation Commission to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Dan Clark.
Here.
Tom Beals.
Here.
Todd Helwig.
Here.
Very good. I don't see Justin or Diane yet. Okay. Staff, when I call your name, please respond to the affirmative. Vincent Vignali.
Yes.
Owen Jones.
Here.
Super.
I just moved Justin in.
Hey guys, can you guys hear me?
Yes, Justin Dufresne, you're present and accounted for. Thank you.
Oh, great. That was painful getting in, but I'm in. All right.
Okay. For presenters and or applicants listed on the agenda, the chair will invite each speaker or applicant on the agenda by name to make a presentation and speak to their application. Participants will provide their full name and hold until the name is called. Each speaker will be asked to mute their phone or computer when not speaking and to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. Those responding will be asked to wait until the floor is yielded to them by the chair. Speakers who wish to respond to the comments of others do so through the chair, taking care to identify themselves. Each vote taken by the commission will be conducted by a roll call. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. By phone, dial *9 to raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Please note that part of your phone number will be visible to those viewing the meeting. By Zoom, click raise hand on the bottom of your screen and wait to be recognized. The chair will ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. Once the chair has a list of all public commentators, the chair will call each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. Okay, let's see here. Let's start with the meeting minutes from May 8th, I believe. Any questions, comments, concerns on the meeting minutes? If not, we need a motion to accept.
Move to accept.
Is
Second.
there a seconded by Dan Clark? Roll call. Dan Clark.
Yes.
Tom Beals.
Yes.
Justin Dufresne.
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. First order of business is going to be the notice of intent and stormwater management and land disturbance. Oh, yes, permit for the senior center, 119 Barefoot Road. Let's see who we have on for that. We got a hand up. So I've got Weston and Sampson. Okay. Megan Kearns will come in. Okay, Josh, Scott, and Jeanette. Should be everybody. Okay, there he goes. Okay. All right, we're waiting for Scott still. Okay. Hey, Owen, can you check on Scott Charpentier? I tried to bring him in 3 or 4 times and it doesn't appear to be working.
Yep,
Oh, bingo.
there he goes.
Just mention your name and look what happens. All right. All right, let's see. What do we have here? So we have, this is a, who wants to set up the, set us up here and give us an overview of what's going on.
It looks like Jeanette is sharing her screen, so you might as well go run through it. That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, hi, good evening. My name is Josh Malanig, work with Weston and Sampson. I'm a project landscape architect on this project. Thank you for hearing the land disturbance and NOI permit for tonight. So I'm just going to start out. Jeanette's sharing her screen with me, so we're just going to go through a quick overview of the site. So we'll kind of go through the drawings, and then we'll get into some of the permitting aspects of this. So the project here is with the senior center. It's a ADA accessible pathway around an existing wetland area. And there's also a stone dust path that kind of goes out and back out into the woods. So this project is just to bring accessibility and allow seniors and or the public more access to kind of the wetland water body that's around there. Jeanette, if you want to slide down to probably the next slide, we can talk a little bit about the existing conditions. So there's the existing senior center to your bottom right with an existing paved asphalt parking lot on the lower portion of the field of this sheet right here. There's the existing wetlands, which is just to the page north of the area. It's currently forested area with some kind of maintained mown grassy areas. I believe the little peninsula that kind of juts out in between into the wetland area right there is kind of a mown area. So there's a little bit of kind of maintenance that's happening around there. So this is kind of the existing conditions plan. Megan from my office is on here. She can kind of walk everybody through kind of the wetland delineation aspects of that. Jeanette, if you want to go to the next slide. So this is the site prep and demolition plan. This kind of goes out and shows where we're going to be putting an accessible paved path around the wetland area and where the proposed stone dust path is. We have a little bit of tree removal that is happening. We've surveyed some trees, so we're locating the trees that are being removed. And then just the overall extents, which is a limit of work, which would be the extents of the grading to get the ADA compliant runs and slopes on our walkway through this kind of trail in the woods. Next slide, please. So as you can see here, this is kind of the materials plan, I believe. So the pathway consists of an asphalt pathway 6 feet wide that is a loop path around the wetland area, and that connects up from a paved patio kind of outdoor gathering space at the back of the existing senior center building. So that's the kind of ADA accessible path that gets you out and out, down and around the wetland area. And then off to the left-hand side of the plans over here, there is a stone dust pathway that provides ADA accessibility from the existing parking lot. So it's kind of a meandering sloped path that's out in the woods, connects back into the paved asphalt walkway that's around the wetland area. Next slide. This is just our dimensioning plan. A little bit hard to read, but it is a 6 foot wide kind of pathway, and these are all the dimensions that are around there. The grading plan is here. So this just shows our slopes are all ADA compliant. We're 4.5% kind of running slopes as we walk down to provide an ADA accessible path. The asphalt, the stone dust pathway off to the left is also accessible. The areas of disturbance that we're removing any forest canopy or any existing kind of vegetation that we're disturbing will be reseeded with conservation seed mix. Right now, we're looking at a New England wetland plants kind of restoration seed mix. So all disturbed areas will be reseeded and revegetated, and where they're far enough off of the pathway, they're going to be allowed to naturalize back into typical forest communities. There'll be a little bit of maintenance that happens along the extreme edges of the pathway, and that's just to keep the path open from being overgrown with any weeds or anything growing over the pathway. The last few slides are just details of kind of our erosion control measures that we're proposing on the plan to prevent kind of sedimentation from spilling down into the resource areas. So we have a combination of compost filter tubes, jute matting where slopes are steeper than 3 to 1. We do have a construction entrance, which we are keeping on the existing parking lot area. So machinery and vehicles will be entering from there. Any material storage is also going to be in that same area just off of the parking lot area. All of these will have erosion control measures around the staging areas. And then we do have sediment fence, filter fabric with wattles to help with erosion control. The next few slides are just typical details of a small unit block retaining wall to retain slopes where needed, and then just kind of a typical pavement details. We do have a couple areas of seating, so we'll have a small concrete little pad to allow the installation of seating benches along the pathway there. Is that our last slide, Jeanette? So that's the brief overview of the project.
Can I jump in and talk about wetland resource
Yeah.
areas a little bit, Josh? Great.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Jeanette, if you just want to stay on one of these slides, I can talk to it. You can all hear me all right, right? Great.
Yes.
So the proposed work is located within, sorry, I'm Megan Kearns. I'm a wetland scientist with Weston and Sampson, for the record. So the proposed work is located within the 100-foot buffer zone to BVW and bank. And the bank is located, there's a pond bank, which is where the trail mostly goes around, right there in the center of the site. And then on top, I guess it's technically to the west, but it's on the top of the page because it's turned a little bit. But we've got 2 BVWs north of that and a intermittent stream that actually runs along the site and goes underneath. There's an existing railroad, a raised bed next to it, and it goes underneath that railroad and off-site. So all of the work is proposed in the buffer zone, the 100-foot buffer zone, as well as the local 25-foot and 35-foot buffer zones under the Northborough Wetlands Protection Bylaw. The proposed sidewalk will be in the 35-foot buffer zone, and there will be some grading and vegetation removal that will take place in the 25-foot buffer zone. And the applicant is requesting a waiver from this work in the 25 and 35-foot buffer zones, as the project does not meet all the performance standards outlined in the Northborough Wetland Bylaw, but it does provide public benefit. It provides ADA access on this site. It'll be a connection to existing trails in the woods and also around the wetland resource areas. They are quite beautiful out there. There's some fish in the pond. And I saw a couple frogs out there as well when I was there. So it's a really nice wetland area. It'll bring folks around there. There already is, you can walk around the path. It's sort of a mowed grass area right now that folks walk around right now. But it will be a public benefit to those at the senior center and the local community as well. I think that is it for wetland resource areas. Vincent, we did submit some responses to comments just before this meeting, or I think just before 5. Sorry, we were spending some time just answering all of the comments, but we're prepared to walk through them if the commission wants, or we can also open it up for questions and sort of have a discussion, whatever works best for the commission.
Let's hold on for 1 second. I've got Scott. Can you hear? Are you with us, Scott?
I am, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I'm on sketchy internet on vacation, so I apologize for not coming through so quickly.
I saw the hand up, so I figured, did you have any comments or questions, or you just want to tell us you're here?
No, I'm here. There's a little history behind the project. As you know, this has been a discussion for several years. We started this out during COVID, and we applied for a couple funding times through Mass DOT, their Shared Winter Streets program and Shared Outdoor Spaces. Neither of them funded us. We did seek CPA funds at town meeting in 2 phases. Both were awarded, and we were recently awarded a small grant through AARP for the benches around the vistas. But that's how we got to where we are today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you. Let's see, let's go back here. Megan, could I see, I got a couple questions here, but before I get there, where are the benches going to be?
Jeanette, do you want to point out some of the benches on the plans, or Josh?
Yeah, I think Jeanette's pointed them out. Oh, you were just pointing them out.
Zooming in.
There we go. So they're on the far upper kind of left and right bends, more towards the railroad tracks on top of the page. And then there's another one over there next to the parking lot, existing parking lot. I believe there's just 3 benches, Jeanette, if I'm not mistaken, proposed.
That's correct. There's 3 benches proposed. The Parks and Rec Commission has a donor bench program that's available as well for any future seating areas if they're desired.
Shut the door. Screen door.
So you need some waivers here. Now, we walked the site last week, and we'd walked the site a couple of times previously when we had a previous discussion about a potential Frisbee golf situation in the area. So we're a little bit familiar with the site. My main concerns are twofold. One, handling that runoff from the impervious surface that's going to go down, and secondly, the top end, call it the north end of the pond here. I mean, that is, the water comes up to within less than a foot of the walkway. I think that area back there is a concern of mine in terms of degrading that very fragile environment.
I have a photo of that area if I can share my screen.
Okay, I see something.
Yeah. Maybe zoom in a little.
That looks like it's in between there's a stream and the pond bank. Is that the right
Yes.
location?
Yep. That's the area that he was talking about, up parallel to the railroad tracks. This
Yep.
is where it kind of goes
Yep.
through there. So there's that, just so you have an idea of what it looks like. And I think I can get to other.
Looks like there's a wetland flag on the left-hand side of this
Yeah.
Yes,
image.
there is.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the wetlands come pretty close to.
Well, that's a
to that
bank,
area.
actually. There's a bank, but there's no wetland flag delineation. So that was one of the questions that I had. Is there a difference? Because it didn't have a wetland report that indicated that.
Yep. So the wetland delineation report was Appendix F, I believe, in the NOI, and we attached it again to the information we just submitted. But in that area, it is just bank, but there are 2 BVWs that border on the bank. One is further up north by Barefoot Road. As you go towards the road, it goes out into the forest a little bit. And then there's another BVW just south of there that goes into the woods again. And so the path sort of goes around all of those resource areas. But no, in that area, I dug some soils, and I didn't see any hydric soils, and the vegetation didn't quite make it, but
Yep.
open to hearing your thoughts as well.
Well, I mean, these are some of the areas. You've got the mowed area, and then you have the grasses, the reeds
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
you could be called. I'm not exactly sure where we want to go with the wetland delineation because we have to do the project where it is. You don't get much of a choice. This is another one looking from that corner where the bench is going to be in the prior view in the plan. I think it's the upper left-hand corner by the ponds. Is
Mhm.
looking back up towards the senior center would be up here. So
Mhm.
you're in this area, you can see the flag there. And then you can see some skunk cabbage growing up on this slope with no wetland flags. So this is one of the areas that I had some concerns with the flagging. It just kind of piqued my interest. But again, I'm not exactly sure it's going to matter too much because we need to build a path and do the grading. And that's where I was kind of looking for a little more detail of what the cross section was going to look like. Because all these paths, as you saw in the other photographs, are they're pretty tight to the wetlands. And oh, that's a rotten picture to copy over. Sorry about that. But there's all roots in this area. And I wasn't sure, as part of your plan, is it going to be excavated? Are you going to be excavating all those roots of the plants with the trees nearby? Or are you going to be just doing all filling? Or how are you addressing the situation of the growth in that area?
Typically, we would excavate down to get the dense grade kind of base material in prior to paving. We have a typical detail of kind of that profile section. The edge conditions is shown on the updated detail, where it's kind of just a stepped edge of pavement, and that'll be set flush with the adjacent material, which would be planting on either side of it. We are removing some trees, and we are open to, as field conditions allow, when we're staking out the exact layout of the pathways, if we've come across a large tree, that's something significant that we would like to protect and keep, we're okay with kind of sliding the pathways around as kind of field conditions kind of dictate. We've done our best to survey trees and to determine which trees are likely to be removed and which ones we believe that we can save while still installing the paved kind of profile depth, so to speak. And as you are aware, it's kind of hard. We're trying to kind of thread the needle between a couple of the wetland areas as best as we can and trying to minimize the amount of disturbance to those areas to the best of our abilities.
Yeah, I mean, it's an excellent idea. It would be a very positive asset to the community. The folks, and there's a very nice area out there. My concern, as I mentioned, is that area, that walkway up top now, that top piece. You're going to go 6 feet wide. That's probably 3 feet wide now, and it's already almost in the water. So I need to understand how that's going to be mitigated. That's my 2 cents. Any other commissioners have questions or comments, concerns?
I guess I'll go. I have a few questions, but I guess my sort of overarching concern is how much work is being done within those zones, that 25 foot and 35 foot. And my concern, I understand it's for the sort of the greater public good, but it seems like the town should hold itself to at least the same standard we expect all the residents to be held to. And, we typically are pretty firm on those 2 setbacks. So, I guess is, I'm not sure how it sounded like the whole project was in at least the 35-foot zone, if not the 25-foot zone. I guess I'm not sure how that sort of settles with me. Is there any way to just, I've walked that, dozens of times. It's actually a very flat, relatively firm path. Is it ADA compliant the way it is?
It is not an ADA compliant surface. It needs to be stable underfoot. and maintain. There's certain deviations, vertical deviations that there's tolerances that are required. So a dirt path or a grassy path right now does not fall under the ADA acceptable surfacing options. Your best option for an ADA path would be a solid paved asphalt, in this case, surface for the just for longevity, lower maintenance. That's the recommended surfacing that we're showing out there, unfortunately. Be great if we could have just a grassy path, but it would not be compliant.
Any other questions, comments? From the commission?
Yeah, so I've been looking at a lot of wetlands bylaws lately. Is ours 15-foot no disturbance and 30-foot no structure? Is that what we have? I can't get on the town's website to check either, but is that what we have?
No, we're at 25 and 35.
25 and 30. It
It
changed.
got, it
25
got
and
updated.
All right, so give me that again, 25 and 35?
25 foot, no alteration. 35 foot, no building, no structures.
And so the 25 pretty much kills us all the way around, right?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yes.
But there
That
also,
was, I was gonna see if there was that's fine. So that answers my question. There's really no way. The whole thing is gonna be in the no disturb zone pretty much.
yes, the
not-
circle, the idea though that we're looking for here is that there is a waiver in that bylaw that talks about for the public good and for projects that would, and this is paraphrased, projects that really require proximity to the resource areas. So if this is an ADA trail going to see and to visit a wetland and a pond, you got to expect that it's going to be within 25 feet, which is my understanding. I think that's what everyone supports and agrees with the idea. It just, what I was looking for, and what I think that sounds like people are looking for, is how much alteration is there in the 25-foot zone and the 35-foot zone.
So there's approximately 14,700 square feet of work in the 25-foot buffer zone and about 20,000 square feet in the 35-foot buffer zone. And we do have, although it's hard to see on the plans because there are so many lines, we do have the 25-foot and the
Yes.
35-foot buffer zones on here just to give you a sense. And that number is including grading, not just the pathway. It's all of the work in that zone. So yeah, Jeanette is kindly trying to trace out the line if she can follow it. But it's sort of you can see, yeah, and most of the pathways in the 100-foot buffer zone as well.
If we were allowing a trails committee, just a regular old trail, would we be allowing them to do this? Have we done that recently?
My recollection, I can't recall a trail that had this type of
Well, we got the stuff down by the Yellick, right?
Yeah, like, yeah. Most of it, what's been allowed has been more perpendicular crossings. There have been impacts in the 25 and the 35-foot zone, but it's as they're making a crossing as opposed to moving around it is the idea. And that's what the definition of this project makes it more difficult, because you're not just going through, you're going there to visit. So that's the difference. And that's what the commission can consider when granting the waivers.
I don't know that it's relative to compare it to our regular trails out on other properties. I think this is, site specific, and it's to complement the senior center. And I'm willing to make the waivers for this project so we can go forward. And I don't think that we're setting any precedents because we're making an exception for this particular project. And I think we should go forward with it.
Anybody else have questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, I just have a couple quick ones, Greg.
go ahead,
I
Justin.
remember this from obviously a couple of years ago, going after funding for this, and I think it's a great project, obviously, for the seniors and everybody in the area. Just kind of wondering a couple of things when it comes to impacts. You know, that one sensitive area where we were just looking at in between those two wetlands. Wondering what the minimum width for an ADA path might be, knowing that we're 6 feet there. I mean, could we go to 4 feet through that section just because it is such a tight area, and try to minimize some of the disturbance there? Just kind of a question, I guess, on that front. And then also looking at some of the grading, it seems like we're chasing things down the hill quite a bit towards the wetlands. I mean, is there any way that we could, increase a wall by a foot or two and try to limit some of the off grading, from the path? It just looked like in a couple areas we might have a wall already, and maybe we're trying to minimize the height of that wall, but potentially if we extended it a little bit, maybe we could lessen some of the impacts there. And then I guess my third question is just in the routing, there look like maybe a couple areas where if, we pulled the routing away from the wetlands a little bit, maybe there's a little bit less disturbance that we could have there. Just kind of thinking of some of those edge conditions, if there's a few ways that we could limit some of the impacts, but still maintain the intent of the design and everything. Just kind of wonder if that's an option.
Yeah, thank you for the questions. Those are great. I'll do my best to answer them in order. So the first one is about the path width. So right now we have a 6 foot wide path. For ADA compliance, you need to provide a turnaround spot for somebody. Let's say they're in a wheelchair, of a 60-inch diameter circle. So a 5 foot wide area that you need to be able to turn around. I believe the running widths in between these turnaround zones can be 4 feet wide. So there is a potential in some of these sensitive areas, like maybe in between the two benches that we're talking about up on the north portion of there. I would keep the 6 foot wide area in front of the bench areas to give you your turnaround areas. If somebody went kind of down, they wanted to turn around and come back, they have that ability there. But maybe the connection point, just to minimize the amount of impervious and or disturbance along with that, we could potentially skinny that section down. So that is an option. The walls that we have on particularly that lower portion, kind of closer to the senior center, we're starting to get into a situation where if you have a fall height of over 30 inches, you're required to have a handrail. And also being a ADA accessible path that's associated with a senior center there, having a lower wall just makes more sense for a safety issue. It's just in case somebody falls, there's not a larger drop on the bottom side of that. We're also kind of hemmed in a little bit with our running slopes to try to come down, coming from that paved patio area up at the senior center. That's their top point. And then just the math works down at a 4.5%. We get into certain areas, and really trying to limit the amount of grading and disturbance coming down to the wetlands. We're a little bit steeper through that area. We're at about a 2-to-1 slope. In those tighter contour lines, but everywhere else we're at a 3-to-1 slope, which is perfectly fine for constructability, maintenance, and kind of just general design kind of standards. 3-to-1 slope is fairly stable, but the 2-to-1 slope at this particular area we're highlighting in yellow, where the wall is, that's kind of steep. So you could trade it off. You're just going to get a taller wall, and I think just for a user safety aspect, having the lowest amount of wall is appropriate in this particular situation. And then your final question.
I also,
about
I guess, just on that one, just real quick before we move on to the last point there, thinking of that area in particular, and as I look at it, you have a 4.5% slope coming down, and then somebody makes really kind of like a hard call it
It's a
almost like a 90-degree. Yeah, kind
Yep.
of a switchback turn there. And then we have a 2-to-1 slope. So there's not a handrail on that wall or along that edge anyways. I'd be concerned a little bit just with a 2% or 2-to-1 slope heading to the wetlands. Even without the wall there, I'm just thinking of somebody pushing a baby carriage or, a senior kind of heading down that slope and then having to make that turn. I mean, I almost feel that edge, even if the wall was higher, probably wouldn't be the worst thing from a safety perspective also.
Yeah, I think we looked into a lot into this wall. So as we're coming down that 4.5% before you make that hard switchback right-hand turn, that levels off. So that whole kind of area is at a 1.5% kind of leveled area. It's much wider than the 5.5 kind of 5-foot turning radius area. So as you kind of come down, it gets pretty flat. So if you would bypass that hard switchback turn and kind of keep going straight, you can see it's a 1.5%. So once you come down that 4.5 right by the wall, it gets pretty flat as you're moving towards the left. So I don't believe it's going to be a hard right hand turn for sure, but making that turn is going to be on a fairly level area. Now the retaining wall, it's not going to be flush with the pavement there. It will step, so there'll be portions of the wall that we're going to act like a curb. So to speak, it'll stick up a little bit above the pavement. That's just the nature of the stepping. So you'll have a little bit of a slight curb area there for people in wheelchairs or people that are pushing strollers or any of the kind of walking equipment that maybe some of the older people have or the less able-bodied people have. So there will be that kind of curb-like safety feature kind of built into the pathway. Also, as part of kind of just our stormwater mitigation and some of the kind of the water, as we're mitigating any stormwater events, we are cross-sloping as much as we can away from the wetland areas, just to pitch water towards vegetated areas to allow for more infiltration into the groundwater. So as you're walking down at that particular area with the wall, we're not pitching the pathway towards the top of the wall. It's going to be a cross pitch of 1.5% away. So again, that just adds in a little bit of extra safety for the users that particular area. This area will be vegetated. That steep slope will be jute matted for erosion control, and we'll have the restoration seed mix that's going to go on there. So as that kind of grows up, it'll also be a little bit of a kind of a vegetated kind of buffer as well. I hope that answers or sheds a little bit more light onto the overall kind of design of that area. I can move on to.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's helpful.
Okay.
You all set, Justin?
I just think with that wall, I mean, it looked like the wall based on the shots of that wall, it looks like it's 1 foot tall. So, if you could make it 2 feet, 3 feet tall, doesn't that start to minimize the grade heading down to the wetland? That would be my one thing. And, whether or not it needs a handrail, I guess, at that point, it'd be something worth looking at, but I think that would really minimize disturbance over there, quite a bit.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we can see, that wall, I think the 25-foot no disturb buffer probably zips right along the bottom. It's hard to see. I got a bunch of spot contour lines that's in there. Adding a guardrail or a handrail on there would be likely more disturbance in that area, just because now we're going to need to get footings and dig down a little bit deeper. The wall that we're proposing is like a Versalock type of block wall, the small, more man-sized blocks that a laborer can just kind of pick up with their hands and place. So the installation of that type of wall, that specific style, is much lower impact on these sensitive areas. So again, that's kind of why we're directing the design is kind of moving in that particular way and really trying to minimize the amount of infrastructure that we're trying to put in this particular area. More than happy to take a look at it a little bit more and see if maybe we can, if adding a foot, I think if we add a foot to the wall and spread that out over the other contours, I'm not sure exactly how much less steep that slope might be. It might be negligible if we're just lowering another foot to get a 2-foot tall drop. But I'm more than happy to maybe take a little bit more of a look at it to see if we can come up with an improved solution. And then I'll jump to your last question, the routing. I believe the one routing is where the stone dust path, kind of on the upper left, potentially T intersections into the asphalt paved path.
Yeah, that was actually kind of, yeah, that one area I was probably looking at the most. Yeah, kind of right where the, right where, yep, kind of where that hand is, and wondering, you know, if that was pulled kind of more, you know, I guess page south, you know, away
Correct.
from that wetland on the top, you know, would we be able to minimize anything there?
We'd have to take a look at it. So right now, if we move that path down, I'd have to double check to make sure the grades work. It appears it's feasible that could happen. It's just a matter of where we would tie in with our grades to make sure that it's still compliant. Wherever we meet at a change of direction, so where that stone dust path that's coming from the left, it's moving towards the right, where that T intersections in and attaches to the asphalt paved path. Again, we need to have a flat or level 1.5% area change in direction. So we just need to double check our grades that work in that particular spot that would allow kind of turning. But we could revisit that. It looks like there's potential that we could at least pull it out of maybe the 25-foot buffer and kind of, I guess, walk that line potentially.
I just wanted to add too that we tried to stick to where the existing walkway is as well. There's a limited area of where work can occur without clearing more vegetation and trees and whatnot. Just wanted to add that.
Thanks, man. Very nice. Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else from the commission have a
Well,
question?
thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Justin.
So I have a quick,
Is that Tom Beals?
Greg, I just have a quick comment. Yeah, 1985, 86, the upper pond was the only one that was there. When that was the Northborough Gun Club, they dug that second pond, and then all the where the gravel stone dust path is, this whole area has been disturbed multiple times. So it's not like it's a virgin site that, you know, has not been altered by man more than once. So again, I support the project, and I think it's it needs a few tweaks, but I think we're in the right going.
You're breaking up, Tom, but I think we got the gist of your comment. Thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Just to add on there, you're talking about grading, and you said you had a cross slope on that path, but when I look at your grading plan, it doesn't show which side. I had one question. I wasn't sure which way you were directing it to vegetation, and it wasn't clear because most of your grading on the path is flat. So if you could, when you're doing your adjustments to the grading, just add a little angle to those cross contours.
Okay. Typically, it would be acceptable if we put a general note and just a few kind of cross slope areas, arrows on the path to indicate which way we would pitch the pathway. Or are you looking for adjustments on the contours to try to indicate which side they're pitching towards?
I think your proposal is to send the water to vegetated areas. So we want to make sure that it's going to the right areas. We need to make sure that the contractor does that, and it doesn't turn out that I walk out there when he's done with the paving and it's sloped the wrong way. That's the whole point. I don't want to have an issue with that. So as long as it's clear enough for a contractor to understand and for me to review and approve it, and the commission to know, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take a look at the best way to indicate on the drawings to make that clear. Could be a combination of arrows and or notes and or contour adjustments.
Hey, Josh, this is Greg Young. Just my 2 cents here is, you know, I understand where Dan's coming from in terms of trying to maintain standards. I also understand that this is a bit of an exception where it is for the public good, and we do have some room, I guess, in the wetlands bylaw to work that, according to Vinnie. From my comments from what we've heard so far is I'd like to see you pulling back wherever you can. So there's one area we talked about already about that Justin mentioned there on the west side as I'm looking at this here. I'd also like to see about narrowing the trail where you can. You can go 4 feet, let's go 4 feet, not 6. Specifically the north end up there, which is really right on the edge of the pond.
Mm-hmm.
And Justin managed the wall height situation. And the last one for me would be just to make sure the erosion control plan is going to be sufficient for that northern piece, that narrow piece.
Okay.
Greg, one final question, if you don't mind.
Sure, Dan, go ahead.
How critical is it to the project that the trail circumnavigate the pond? So in other words, could you eliminate the section of pond trail that joins that exterior loop trail?
I'd leave, I guess, that to Scott.
Sure.
I guess maybe to jump in. From what my understanding is, having the loop trail as part of the overall programming for the senior center to provide a loop trail, a paved loop trail around this particular wetland area, but then also a more, I guess, natural stone dust kind of woodland walk or wood trail. That's the one that goes kind of off to the left side. I'd defer back to Scott to see if eliminating any sections would still fit the overall project's kind of goals and programming.
As you may or may not be aware, we went through public hearings at the Community Preservation Committee. This was presented at town meeting twice. A substantive change like that, I would want to go back before the CPC to see if it still meets their goals and objectives. And as they're the funding entity, and that would be my approach. So, you know, the goal is to provide ADA accessibility around a resource, and this would be just a deadheaded trail essentially that goes out to the peninsula, and then the rest of it is stone dust because it's not accessible. So I'd go back to the CPC and see if they believe the funding is still warranted.
Let's see if we need any public comment. I don't see any hands up. Okay. All right, Vinny, we don't have a DEP number here either, do we?
I believe we do.
We do, yep.
Oh my goodness. All right. Cross off these X's.
We got the D. No comments.
No comments, okay.
No comments from DEP.
So I think that, I think the feeling here amongst the commission, I certainly from my perspective is we'd like to make this work if we can mitigate to the extent possible. I think you heard the concerns tonight that folks have on that side. So Vinny, anything else you want to close with, Vinny? Before I think we want to probably continue this. I doubt we, obviously. So
yeah, I think that's it. And I think the comments are there. There are good comments from the commission to add to the ones that I had. And then just look at what you're requesting for waivers on and ask for them. I mean, the commission is very supportive of the whole idea. And we've been, I guess they've been supportive of it for 2 years now. And now it's where the rubber meets the road to make sure the actual design is as least impact as possible. And let's move forward and ask for whatever waivers are needed.
Yep, and we did include a consolidated summary list of those exemptions and waivers in our submittal that we just sent over. But we can add a couple comments from this evening to that as well, or send you some more information.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. If there are no more comments from the commission, we are going to continue this to the July meeting, which is July 10.
July 10th. Yep.
We need a motion to continue.
So moved.
I make a motion to continue.
Okay. Is there a second? Todd, second?
Sure.
Roll call vote. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Tom Beals,
Yes.
Diane Gouldner. Diane Gouldner on mute. All right, we'll come back. Justin, you still with us?
Yep.
Okay,
Vote yes.
okay, thank you. Todd Helwig.
I do have to
Yes.
run though, Greg.
Okay, thank you for taking the time, Justin, appreciate it. And I vote yes. Dan, did you undo your mute yet? Nope, nope. Here we
Now,
go. You are now unmuted.
okay, and I'm now abstaining.
Okay. We are moving it to July 10th. Very good.
Very good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
for your
Mr.
time.
Chairman. Thank you,
Thanks,
Commissioner.
Scott. Enjoy the rest of your vacation.
Thank you. I'm off to the
Okay.
selectmen.
Here you go. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right. We're moving 311 Crawford to the late. Let's go to 0 Hudson Street, parcels 19, 20, 21, the ANRAD. We probably have seen some people here, I bet, who want to come in for this one. I bet Ecotech
Ecotech, Paul McManus or
Ecotech is coming in.
Katie.
Anybody else? I see some Gotti Consulting folks here, but they might be here with something different.
They are.
There's Ecotech. Okay.
Good evening, Paul McManus.
Hello, Paul. Thank you. Welcome. So you and Vinny have been trucking through the knotweed and working all those issues out there, and I think it sounds like we've come to an agreement.
I think so. I'll let Vinny speak for himself, but I think so.
Yes, yeah, we've gone through, I think we've done 3 or 4 visits out there, and I think what we have come to with a plan is reasonable. It's overgrown with knotweed, so that makes it very difficult for the plants. Paul's been very good with the hydric soils and assessments, and I think the plan shows the resource areas that are appropriate out there. Paul, do you have a copy of the plan, or do you want me to share my screen with that?
If I can share mine, I actually took some time and did a little highlighting, so it probably make it a little easier.
That's much better than mine.
Let me find it here. Am I up there?
Yes, I can see it.
So basically, we're on the east side of Hudson Street. Assabet River is in the back of the property. So the red line I have highlighted here is mean annual high water. So we have riverfront, we have the inner riparian is the red dash, and also the outer riparian, also this red dash line here running roughly parallel to Hudson Street. And then we have a area of bordering vegetative wetland that borders along. Turn off my phone, sorry. Drains down to the river, which is this kind of irregular blue line here. This area up here was really the biggest change to our original delineation. This is an area when we first went out and flagged it. The skunk cabbage hadn't arrived for the season yet. Vinny astutely called it out, sent us back out there. So we expanded the delineation in a couple spots. Like I said, this was the largest one. So we actually have, Mr. Chairman, excuse me, 3 separate ANRADs that we filed, essentially all in the same envelope, all in the same plan. But there are 3 filings before you. So it's lot 19, 20, and 21. So you can see there's a lot of resource area on the property, the buffer zone. Anything that's not BVW is within the buffer zone, which extends out across Hudson Street. So that's really where we are.
Very good, thank you. And Vinny, you're good, huh? You're good with the delineation here?
Yes, and I'm not sure if Paul mentioned the floodplain, the 100-year floodplain is the black dash line up close towards Hudson Street.
Yes, okay.
So that's a flood area for construction purposes.
All right. Any questions from the commission? Comments, concerns? This is an ANRAD. Okay. See, we got any public comment? I don't see any hands up. All right. Then if there's no pushback or questions, we can move forward with closing the hearing.
Everything looks good, except we
Yep.
haven't got a DEP number on any
Except
of
the
the
DEP
3.
number, okay? We lucked
Right.
out last session, but not this one, huh?
That was the only one we've gotten a number on.
Okay. So we really have no choice then, do we?
I think that's the way it's done. My experience has been that you have to wait for the DEP number. I can't really file the decisions without a number.
Yep.
And it could come quickly and it might be fine, but it may go longer than the requirement for me to file the decision. So I think the recommendation from DEP is not to file until you have the number. Do you know any better than that, Paul?
I wish I could contradict you, but I can't.
There'll be other times, don't worry.
No, so I mean, I guess, you know, procedurally, I mean, it is an ANRAD. It's not an order condition. We're not seeking an order of conditions. But we are supposed to have a file number. I actually thought that we had them for this. I obviously was wrong, and I just verified. I just went on before we got on tonight, and it's still blank on the
Right.
on the form.
Right.
Vinny, what about, would it be proper to vote it? We can't vote without closing the hearing, though. You can't close the hearing without the number. So I retract my comment. I was going, you know where I was going with that. So.
Yeah. Well, I think the point, since it is an ANRAD and the proponents know that, I think we're in agreement that that's what these are what the lines look like, barring DEP jumping in and saying you're absolutely wrong, it's somewhere else. They can move forward with their other plans for what they plan to do with the lots as they go. I don't think this will hold them up. I think the board have been pretty clear. There's not a lot of dissension here, so I think
No,
we'll just
that's great.
continue.
I appreciate that comment. So, you know, administratively, we're not there, but as a practical matter, we're there.
Unless, well, it's up to the board to kind of,
yeah,
if anyone else
right.
is, yeah. Yeah.
I understand.
Todd, what do you think? Are we in mushy area here if we move forward?
Say Tom or Todd?
Todd,
I really, it doesn't matter to me. And this thing has been sitting here for 2 years. In one fashion or another. What's another month?
okay. All right.
That was sort of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That was a legal interpretation.
Agreed.
You agree, Tom?
I agree with Todd. One more month isn't gonna.
Yep.
I think
Dan and Diane, same thoughts or different thoughts?
No, same.
I agree.
Okay. All right, then we'll continue to the July meeting and hopefully we can jingle DCR's DEP's bells there.
Okay, I will
All right.
call and ask.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Paul.
Thank you.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Vinnie, thanks for your
We need to vote. We need to vote.
accommodating out there.
Thank you.
Let's vote to continue to July 10th, the ANRADs for lots 19, 20, and 21, 0 Hudson Street.
So moved.
second,
Seconded by Tom Beals. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Tom Beals,
yeah,
Diane Goldner,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you much. Have a good night.
You too. Vinny, I think we probably need to talk to our circuit rider on this.
Yes, that would probably be a good idea. We can get on hers. So, yeah, actually, Kim Roth has been doing the reviews just because the circuit rider used to have a connection to the town.
Yes.
So I guess there's some look back period, whether it's 6 months or a year, but I think she's past that. I don't know if it's 2 years, but hopefully we'll get her more involved.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, we have 300 Bartlett Street, continuation, stormwater management and land disturbance permit. Bartlett, let's see, do we have up here? We have Peter Ellison.
Alan. So 300 Bartlett.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, Peter should be coming in. I can see you, Peter.
Good evening,
Very
members of
good.
the commission. How are we tonight?
Not bad for a Monday.
Yeah. So,
All right, this is the FedEx building, right?
that's correct, Mr. Chairman. So, thank you all for your time tonight. I think, our last meeting was about a month ago. And myself and Vinny had traded comments and response letters. And I think coming out of that last meeting, we were down to really just a few remaining items. I have not heard back from Vinny yet, but I did send over an updated letter with a response package with revised plans. I think most of those comments were really related to, erosion controls during construction and, getting over a signed illicit discharge statement as part of the stormwater report. So unless the commission has any specific questions for me, I would be happy to turn it back over to you and see if Vinny agrees.
Okay, very good. Vinny?
Yeah, I apologize for not getting back to you. Actually, I thought everything was well done. The comments were addressed and the plans were clarified a little bit, or an additional plan was added so that it was clear what was occurring, so that I think the work can be accomplished without any impacts.
Okay, good. Any questions from the commission? I don't see any hands up. Okay. Do we need to close the hearing? I'm sorry.
I have a question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Tom.
So a quick question. Was there anything in there for construction watering? That site was a really high silt area and, for foundation excavations, what have you. So was there a section that addressed groundwater, pumping and or dewatering?
Yes, there was, Commissioner Beals. That was one of the last few items that Vinny and I were trading back and forth on this last one. What we landed on was we have a temporary stilling area called out that would be on the existing paved area. So there's very, very low risk of any type of sedimentation or runoff happening off the site. And we've also agreed to size the pump and the silt bag combination so that we can handle the areas that are flowing into each construction zone at the site.
Okay, perfect. Great. Thank you.
Question. That was good.
Any more questions or comments from the commission? Okay. Then let's move ahead with closing the hearing.
So moved.
Okay.
Second by Diane. Dana Clark,
Yes.
Tom Beals,
Yes.
Diane Gouldner,
Yes.
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
and I vote yes. And now we are looking for a motion to issue a stormwater management and land disturbance permit for 300 Bartlett Street.
I will move that, make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Tom Beals. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Tom Beals,
Yes.
Diane Gouldner,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Done.
Okay, thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for working
you.
with Vinny on this. Appreciate it.
Yep, of course.
Okay, 9 Bridle Path. An RDA. We have a hand up. We've got Mitch Maslaka's hand up. We'll bring Mitch in.
Yes.
Hello, Commission.
Hi, Mitch.
How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Excellent. So what's going on at 9 Bridle Path?
So I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Tom Linnell. He's the owner of 9 Bridle Path Drive, and he's requesting a negative determination to replace his deck in his backyard. It's going to be replaced in the same footprint as the existing deck, so we're just seeking one of those minor exemptions to replace his deck. So I'll show you some pictures and plans showing resource areas. Can you guys see that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Perfect. So this is 9 Bridle Path Drive. The backyard has a deck, a double decker deck, with some resource areas nearby. So we've got a bordering vegetated wetland. You can see that little blue flag there, pretty close to the deck. We've got another blue flag in here. So sort of at the toe of the slope is our bordering vegetated wetland. We've also got a perennial river over in these woods back here. So on the plan, I'll show you how far away we are generally from that. So work is within the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands and within the 200-foot riverfront area. So this is the deck that they're proposing to replace. Here's a closer up view of the deck. So they're just going to replace the deck, bring it up to current building codes. And part of bringing it up to building codes is some excavation that's going to be required just around these pilings. They need to put some sonotube around those existing pilings and pour concrete to expand the surface area of those pilings. And then they're going to put another post attached to these existing posts here, just to add stability really to that deck. They are going to be taking a lot of material down and replacing it. But the only excavation is going to be to expand those, the size of those pilings. So here's another view of the deck. So these pilings here, they'll just be slightly enlarged to add another beam here to hold up the deck. So I'll show you now some aerial photographs. Okay, can you see my screen? Switch over to the plan now.
Yes.
Perfect. So here's our aerial view showing our resource areas. So here's our 9 Bridle Path Drive. Here's the deck in the back. And we have this blue line as our bordering vegetated wetland boundary there. This orange line is our proposed erosion control, which is going to be some staked straw bales. And then deep into the woods, we have the mean annual high water line for the river, the perennial river that is located in the woods back there. So work is within the inner riparian zone, the 100-foot riparian zone here shown in that dashed pink line. And then these other lines out here, this blue dashed line is our 100-foot buffer zone. So work is entirely within buffer zone. And here's our dashed 200-foot riverfront area line way out here. So our distance from our bordering vegetated wetlands to the limit of work is about 5 feet, maybe a little bit closer. But it's just going to be a staked straw bales. So we're planning not to have silt fence, so no soil disturbance to put in the erosion control. And then since there's not much excavation going on, we felt the staked straw bales will be sufficient to keep any sediment within our limit of work. So that's the basic plan. Let me know if you guys have any questions. We have some good blueprints of the plans as well, you know, pretty detailed, just basically showing the same footprint as the existing deck. So let me know if you guys have any questions.
You're staying within exactly the same footprint as before, correct?
Yes. Actually, hold on. There is one. So there's 2 steps. Let me get the blueprint. So this is a good view, the right side view, showing there's these 2 steps here. Boom, boom, going towards the house right now. But they do want to switch those steps to go towards their backyard and not into the house. I don't know if that was a building code decision or not, but that is the one footprint change. So relatively minor, just switching 2 steps going this way to 2 steps going this way.
And will the work around the sonotubes be hand tools or no machines?
That's correct.
Questions from the commission, comments, concerns?
I'm okay with this.
I don't see any issues with it. My only comment is that it looks like it doesn't meet even our old law. I don't know how that got by, but
It's been there for 40 years, so it predated our bylaw.
been that long?
That's what I saw in the plan, yeah. 40 years isn't that long ago, Tom.
Yeah, okay.
All right, any other comments?
Looks fine to me.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Any concerns? All right, no concerns. So we're looking then to, we have to close the hearing still, Vinny, or is this an exception? To close it?
We can close the hearing. This is an ANRAD, so it doesn't, I'm sorry, it's a request for determination.
Yep.
So it doesn't need a DEP file number.
Okay, all right. So we'll vote to close the hearing for the,
Oh, wait a minute.
RDA for 9 Bridle Path.
No, I'm sorry. Requests for determinations do require. I think. You gotta check that out. Do you know that off the top of your head, Mitch? Does,
Maybe just to be safe, close the meeting, the public meeting, because it's not a hearing, it's a meeting. So maybe vote to close the meeting and issue a negative determination.
right, but it's in the under the local bylaws, it's required to be a hearing, but under the state, if we need a DEP number, they don't like you to close. Well, there's no hearing, so they wouldn't say you can't close the hearing. Okay, I'll have to look at that. I'm sorry. But I think we can close the hearing.
I'm going to move to close it no matter what.
It's pretty simple. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Is there a second to that?
Second,
Second by Tom Beals. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Tom Beals. Tom Beals.
yes,
Diane Gouldner,
yes,
Todd Helwig.
yes.
Yeah,
I vote yes, and the hearing is now closed.
Okay, thank you very much, Commission.
Great. Thank you.
So we're continuing. No, we gotta issue the permit, right, Benny?
yeah. Now
Yes,
move
you
to-
met your decision.
So this is a negative determination.
Negative determination with no special conditions I can think of.
Nope, no. The other, yeah, no, it's just a negative determination. I don't think there's, I have standard language to have them notify me when the erosion controls are in place.
Yep.
And that's about it.
Okay. Need a motion to issue a negative.
So I make a motion to issue. Make a motion to issue a negative determination for 9 Bridle Path.
second,
Second by Diane. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Tom Beals,
Yes.
Diane Gouldner,
yes,
Todd Helwig,
Yes,
and I vote yes.
All right,
Done.
great, thanks.
Thank you, Mitch.
Have a good night.
You too. All right. 162 Whitney, they're refiling or something, Vinny, right?
Nope, 162 Whitney, it's the house
Okay.
that burned and they're
Yes.
moving, yep, farther away.
Okay. I don't see anybody with hands up.
That was another, I think that was Goddard.
I've got Nicole Hayes.
Yes, yep.
Okay. Any second, we should see Nicole.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes,
Okay,
Yes.
let me start my video. There we go.
here you are. Welcome.
Well, good evening. My name is Nicole Hayes. I'm a wetland scientist with Goddard Consulting, here before you with a notice of intent for Whitney Street. The project is, it's going to be a new house that will be developed after the old house has been razed. As you know, the old house burnt down. The new house will be located further away from the wetlands than the old house, about approximately 20-25 feet further away. The wetlands of concern are located off-site. There's bordering vegetated wetlands, and you can see them on the plan. No work will occur within the 25-foot or the 35-foot buffer zone with the new project. And the existing vegetation within the 50-foot buffer zone will be protected and not impacted.
Nicole, is there a plan we can put up and see?
Sure, let me,
It would help the reference, I think.
yep. How do I share my screen?
Well, Vinny, you're an expert at that.
Oh, here we go.
That's at the
Share
bottom. Yep,
screen.
there you go.
Yep. Desktop share. Can you see that? Yep,
Yes.
okay.
There you
So
go. Good,
this is the pond and the BVW located off-site, right in here. 25-foot no disturb, which we will not disturb. 35-foot no building, there will be no building. a 50-foot vegetation preservation area that will be maintained. This is the old house that burnt down that will be raised. The new house will be in this area. And this is the 100-foot buffer zone line. So work within the 100-foot buffer, within the 50 to 100-foot buffer is grading most of the house, a screened porch, and part of a deck. Erosion controls will be placed at the limit of work to protect down gradient resource areas. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Well, good news is it's further away from the resource areas.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that gets a lot of points. Any questions
does.
from the commission?
And just to add to what she has is she's putting in 2 signs for wetlands, do not disturb. And
Yes.
you want to point to those at the 25, just outside the 25-foot
Yep.
area.
Right here.
Okay.
Are you reusing the septic system?
I'm not exactly sure about that. They do have the Title V inspection form on the plan. I thought they were doing a different. There's some leach pits right here.
Yeah, I think that's the existing. I think they located it. They did an inspection. I think it passed to Title V. So they're just going
Okay.
to tie in. They've got a new connection to the system. They've got a proposed septic connection there shown.
Okay,
And so that's what the work is now in closing it with the erosion control line goes around that. And I think all they're doing is connecting to the septic.
okay.
I guess the Board of Health's already bought off on the plan on that piece.
I think they've reviewed it. Yeah, signed off.
Yep.
You okay, Dan?
Yeah, I just wondered where it was in relation to the
Yep.
wetland.
Yep. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Okay, I see a hand up. Okay, I'm going to bring Steve and Arlene Marshall have their hand up.
Oh, those are the owners.
Well, let's bring them in. Any second.
Do I need to stop sharing for you to let them in?
No, they should be coming in. You can keep it up for now.
Okay.
Are you here? Okay. Hey, Owen, did I drop them by mistake?
Unmute.
Hi, can you hear
There you go.
us?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No.
No, I just wanted to say that we are keeping the same septic system, that it was, past the Title V, which we didn't really even have to do, but it actually did pass it anyway. So just the same one.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions from the commission or concerns?
No, I think this is pretty clear cut.
And we need to
And this one, we need to wait for the DEP file.
DP number, right?
Yeah, this one, I know we need a DEP file number for a notice of intent,
Okay.
but everything, again, everything looks good. I think the commission's on board with everything. But we need a number.
We're going to be chasing those, I think, this week. So we've got to continue this.
Right.
Not
And
gonna
when-
cause a delay of any sort.
When's your next hearing?
July
July
10th.
10th.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to have a motion to continue 162 Whitney Street.
So move.
That was Diane,
Yes.
Second,
seconded by Todd. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Tom Beals,
yes.
Diane Gouldner,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, hopefully July 10th will be a very quick approval.
All right.
But does that mean we still cannot have it demolition?
I can check with the building inspector to see if that's a possibility. I'm not sure what his requirements are to issue a demolition permit, but I can talk with
Okay.
the building inspector.
Okay, thank you. That's-
Thank you, folks.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nicole. All right. I believe we are going to 0 Bartlett Street, stormwater management and land disturbance. I know I saw some folks there. Okay. They're bringing David Robinson.
Yes.
Scott Weiss. All right, that's all we have for hands.
I think that's all. Yep.
Is there a Scott Weiss?
He's
also?
coming in.
Oh, perfect.
Yes, yes. In fact, he's here, I believe, with no sound. There he is. Okay, Scott's with us and David's here, right?
I'm here.
Okay,
Good evening.
good evening.
How are you guys doing tonight?
We are living large.
Living large, plugging away. Appreciate it. Just to remind everyone, I'm Scott Weiss with the Gutierrez Company. David Robinson with Allen and Majors, our civil site engineer, are on. We are here for what has been called a number of different things. 0 and 301 Bartlett Street. Parcel H has been our reference, and it's actually also recently been numbered 201 Bartlett Street by the town assessor. So
New, huh?
Yep. So you may recall this is a proposal for a 150,000 square foot.
This is Joan from the Northwood Traveler. We need your food choices.
I'm sorry, I'm
For the
What
trip.
is that?
hearing some other.
Salad with chicken, burger.
I think it's Diane.
When it comes to our
What?
Go to mute.
and the appetizer will need.
Diane, I muted you.
So-
Okay.
Sorry about that.
The power of the chair. See what you have here? That's it.
Great power. With great power comes great responsibility.
There you go. I know that one. Okay. Go ahead, Scott. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I wasn't sure if people could hear me. You may recall this is a proposal for 150,000 square foot single-story warehouse building on Bartlett Street. You fully reviewed and approved an order of conditions about 3 years ago in 2020 for this project as part of our effort to get it fully permitted. We also actually received an extension from you a little earlier this year for the project. In the intervening time, as we were going through the process, we ran into a few delays that took a court intervention to help resolve. We now have all of our permits in hand at this point, and so we are readying to go to that next step. Obviously, within the intervening years between our initial filing and now, some of the regulations and bylaws have changed, and you've introduced the land disturbance permit, which had that been in place 3 years ago, we would have done that jointly together with our notice of intent. But here we are now applying for the land disturbance permit in lieu of the former earthwork permit, and have that in front of you tonight. So most of everything has been reviewed and approved through that process. The order of conditions issued has certain, has all of the erosion control requirements, has a number of the, various different elements that you guys typically require. Had a phasing component to it, and we couldn't proceed with phase 2 until phase 1 was stabilized, and items such as that. So a lot of that was captured. Vinny did go through and provide some comments, which was primarily some added notes to be put on the plans. Don't want to speak for you, Vinny, but on that, in terms of where we're at, and we're comfortable with making those changes. We just haven't been able to submit revised plans with those notes added as of this point. And there are 2 waiver requests that we have included with our application here. One is the rainfall data analysis was updated as part of the land disturbance permit. And the other just being the provision of some drainage trunk line profiles, I think it was. And again, given the history of the project, the time frame, to make those updates would significantly alter, well, certainly the rainfall component would alter the plans that have been approved now by multiple boards and commissions and groups, and would send us back sort of to step 1, if you will, in the whole process. So that's where we're at. David can certainly pull up the plan, give you guys an overview, go through any components of the project that you want to hear or review again. Happy to do that.
All right, if I share the plan.
Yes, go ahead, Skip. That's fine, David.
Just let me know when you can see that.
I can see it.
Okay, great. Did you want me to, did we want to go into the discussion with the board?
Yeah, how much, what do you want to go through? If you recall, just again, it is a warehouse building with a parking down at the sort of south west end, some loading in the back where David's highlighting, and a driveway connection down to Bartlett Street. Pretty straightforward. There are a lot of wetlands encircling a lot of the project site. And all of the project, as we talked about when we did the extension, meets the 25-foot no disturb limit and the 35-foot no structure limits.
Yep. And again, you've got an existing order in hand already for this.
We do. We have a detailed order in hand. I don't think Vinny can vouch for that. It was prior to his involvement, but it was a pretty it's a fairly comprehensive document, I would say.
But my question is, the 2 waiver points you brought up, the rainfall analysis and the other one, exactly what are we going to look away from if we grant those? What is that exactly?
Sure. So for the rainfall data analysis, and David, you can comment more on this, but I'll give you the layperson understanding of this. Over time, some of the rainfall data that you use to design your storm water management system has changed and updated over the years, and so there was some recent adoption, I think, by the town. I don't think DEP has adopted it yet, but has adopted this new, what is it called, Atlas 14 numbers.
Yes.
And it does change the rainfall data and how you would design some of your systems. We have 2 detention ponds, detention and infiltration. Is that correct, David?
It's just infiltration. So
Just
any water
infiltration.
that goes in there drains down into the ground and recharges those surrounding wetlands. Yep.
Right, and they also hold water, right?
They hold
So-
back water. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so we do have those two basins, and those are sized based on the DEP numbers that are in place currently, not to the higher numbers. And so what happens is with these different numbers at a higher storm level, they're about the same for you analyze, what is it, 2, 10, 25, and 100-year storms?
Correct.
And it matches up pretty well in all of those storms, except for the 100-year storm. There could be the potential for some additional water to use the spillway over the top, which would then feed directly into the wetlands and the stream Stirrup Brook off the back, which is at a lower elevation than pretty much everything in the surrounding area.
What about the other one, the trunk line, or are they the same?
Oh, so that is just a plan item that I don't know where the requirement comes from. Then you can maybe comment on that, but it's usually a way to check for conflicts, that we don't have pipes crossing each other. And David can comment on that. I know they did a
think the
pretty comprehensive
impetus-
review.
The impetus usually is if you have offsite drainage where you're tying into a municipal system in the roadway, which we do not have in this case. The DPW and engineering likes to check that you're not going to conflict with any of the existing utilities in the roadway. But our design holds everything on site, all the piping, the basins. This is an undeveloped site. We're not going to have those conflicts with existing utilities. So that's why we believe it's appropriate to request a waiver for that.
Yes, and I agree that
Vinny,
that was the
yeah.
background.
Yeah, I was going to, Vinny, what do you think about the situation with these two? Where are you?
Yes, I'm in favor of granting the waivers there. The idea of the first one being the different flows, different rainfall events, or different rainfall depths for the different rainfall events. The new Atlas 14 numbers have higher depths, deeper amounts, whereas the old TP40 numbers are lesser, but they designed it to hold the old TP40 100-year storm, which was 7 inches of rain, I think it was. And the new numbers are 7.8 inches, I think. And so what happens is over 99% of the storms are still going to be captured. It's just that last 1% that will have some flow going out over a spillway as opposed to being percolating into the ground. And I think the situation, if we're going to have almost 8 inches of rain, everything's going to be so wet, it's not really going to matter whether it's going to infiltrate through the soil or over that spillway. The spillway is designed to handle it and pass the flow safely, which is what DEP requires and what the local bylaw requires.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you. All right. Anything else that we need to know about David or Scott?
Yeah, I mean, the plan is otherwise mostly unchanged. We did go through a little bit of updates through the planning board process since you last saw it, which are very, very minor in terms of adding a fence to provide some screening. Trying to think, adding some plantings along the perimeter.
Additional landscaping and screening, and then we added a couple bike racks in an already concrete area by the front.
Yeah, I was listening to some of those meetings. Was there any change to the snow storage plan?
The snow storage plan is sort of updated repeatedly over the time frame, but nothing, I think, significantly. The snow storage is still essentially in the same areas. What happened, and David, correct me if I'm wrong, the planning board was restrictive on what we could include in the calculations, and then how high of a pile we could calculate and include in the calculations. And then it ended up getting split into primary and secondary storage areas. So you would put the snow here first and there if second, if it was a larger storm.
Yeah, we also added a guardrail or extended a guardrail along this area since it's close to the wetlands, and we added some no snow storage signs. So if anything, the snow storage has gotten better with keeping it away from the wetland areas and kind of onto the existing paved areas or away from the wetlands. And it's also more efficient. And once we did the calculations, we figured out that we can store actually a pretty significant volume of snow on the site, but they just wanted us to go through those calculations and provide that to them.
All right. Any other questions from the commission? Comments, concerns? Nope.
Since this is a land disturbance hearing, do you want to pull up your the phasing, the erosion control plan? It was well done. It just shows the areas where they've got control in place, temporary berms to contain construction site water before they even start doing the work on the basins. And those are sized to hold the required amount of runoff from whatever area has been altered that's upstream of it. So I think they've done a pretty good job with this, and I think I'm hoping that we won't have any issues with it. I don't anticipate any.
And I will add that this area is a little bit different than some of the other sites in the area of along Bartlett Street, in that the soils here are much better, less silty than some of the other sites. David laughs. He's worked around the corner on Hayes Memorial Drive and certainly some of the experience across the street on Bartlett, but much better soils in this area, which is a good thing.
And there was soil testing done for those infiltration basins, and it showed good sandy gravel.
That's correct. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Very good. All right. So no, I don't see any questions from the commission or concerns. Vinny, you seem to be good with what's been done where we are here. It looks like it's pretty comprehensive to me.
Yes. Yeah. Very well done.
So we need a motion to close the hearing on Zero Bartlett.
I make a motion.
Go ahead, Tom.
I make a motion to close the hearing for 300 or 0 Bartlett Street as it is on the agenda.
Okay. Second. Seconded by, was that?
That's Todd.
Todd, very good. Roll call. Dan Clark.
Yes.
Tom Beals.
Yes.
Diane Gouldner, if you're not muted, I can't see. Okay, let me see here, Diane. Diane Gill is asking to unmute.
Diane, you're muted. Try the space bar, it might work. Okay.
Here we go.
You're good.
Yes.
Very good. Thanks, Diane. Todd Helwig.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Hearing is now closed. Need a motion to issue a stormwater management land service permit for 0 Bartlett Street, parcel H or 201 Bartlett. Pick what you like.
So moved.
Second.
By Tom Beals. Roll call. Dan Clark.
Yes.
Tom Beals.
Yes.
Diane Gouldner.
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Very good.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the thorough review and the quick work. I know you had a lot of items on the agenda tonight, so thank
Thanks
you.
for working with us. And would you plan this break ground soon? Is there you have a target date?
So we were initially targeting spring of this year. Things took a little longer than we had hoped for. And so now we have to weigh weather-wise and where we're at, whether it will be a fall start or we may end up holding off till next spring.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay. All right, gentlemen, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night. All right. What do we have here? We are now at 15 Prospect. That's the one that's been withdrawn, Vinny, right?
Yes, the applicant requested it to be withdrawn.
Okay. Then let's go to stormwater management, continuation of stormwater management land disturbance for 311 Crawford Street. And Mark Elbag is coming in.
Yes.
All right. Any second now?
Hello, thank you for having me.
We can, there you go. Thank you. We can see you and hear you, Mark. Thank you.
All right.
Three of those. We're continuing this from last month. I think Vinny's got some information received from you. He might be looking for more. Let's see where we are.
Yeah, we've gone through a couple of revisions and I can share the plans if you'd like, or
Yep,
however you'd like.
that's good. Yeah, and I just got earlier this afternoon or later this afternoon, I got the request of waivers. So
Okay.
maybe just go through the plan and give the commission a reminder of what it is and maybe talk about the waivers.
Certainly. So here's the plan. Can everyone see that okay?
Yes, it's a little bit small, but yes.
Yeah, let me zoom in here for you. How's that? That's pretty.
That is pretty good.
A bit of a mix, a little small, but you can see the whole lot. So this is relatively similar to what was discussed at last meeting, with the biggest revision being the stormwater device in the northeastern corner of the lot. That was previously, we were going to leave that undisturbed, but we decided it's probably worth the trade-off and to get whatever stormwater mitigation we can on the lot. So we've added that. We've added that swale for infiltration and a little bit of detention. As you may be aware, the water on the lot runs down to Crawford Street. It's a very steep existing lot now. So we've worked to do everything we can to slow this water down and treat this water. All the roof runoff is going to go to these infiltration units. They're oversized because we're not only using them for infiltration, we're also using them for detention. And then the driveway water is going to go to this water quality or armored riprap swale. And we're picking it up about halfway down to treat as much as we possibly can before it gets to that bottom section of the driveway, which is largely a cut into the hillside. So we're matching and we're mitigating peak runoff flow for the proposed, and we're matching the pre-development flow rates and discharge locations or flow paths, if you will.
That's all riprap, yeah?
Yeah, it's going to be riprap with filter fabric, so we can get some TSS removal out of that. Yep.
Okay.
Some good stabilization.
All right, so that's all new from the last time we spoke.
I don't know if you can see my mouse, but the revised section is this.
Okay, yes,
northeast,
okay,
northeast corner of the lot up there. We added that additional stormwater BMP. We were originally trying to kind of preserve some of the wooded area, but that's really the last location we have for any sort of stormwater treatment or detention.
Okay. With that, what about during construction? I mean, this seems like a finished product here. Would some of these be in place prior to construction to manage the construction runoff, or would this be halfway done and then the rest done afterwards, or what's the plan there?
Yes, we specified some temporary basins and a construction sequencing plan. And it is, we are going to have to pay close attention to this contractor and make sure the contractor pays close attention to his stormwater controls and erosion controls. It's a difficult site.
It is. And as from the last time, you remember our concern is because of potentially water running down there and freezing causing problems. It's a very heavily traveled area, very visible. So,
Yes, absolutely.
all right. Vinny, how are you in this?
Yeah, I looked at the plans, and again, it's not meeting the stormwater standards for water quality treatment. Those are the DEP standards, but those DEP standards are typically not applied to a single family residence proposal. And that's what this is. So we're trying to meet things as best we can. He does have a riprap swale that brings it down to what looks like, I haven't actually gotten into the detail of that northeast corner infiltration area, but it does provide some storage for both during construction as well as post-construction. And he does have the two small sediment traps and water traps down right by the road. So it looks like it's going to be as good as we can get on this site, especially since he's going to be making 6 to 8 foot cuts with that driveway coming in there. It's going to be difficult to get this under control in the beginning, but it's got to be timed as far as when the construction work starts, just so he doesn't start 2 days before a rain event is going to be coming in. So it's going to take some coordination.
All right, questions from the commission, comments, concerns?
I have a concern that even with all the retainment of water and slowing it down, that there won't be ice out in the street. If you have somehow discovered a way or can filter the water so it goes different place. So there isn't an ice, like an ice patch forming at the base of the driveway.
Currently, the water is all flowing onto the street, and we are not changing the flow path, but it is, there's really nothing we can do from stopping the water from going onto that edge of Crawford Street, since there is no drainage in the road or swale on that shoulder of the roadway. It's really just a kind of a cliff there. So it's a steep slope going down to the road. There's no question about that.
And in his proposal, he is doing some treatment or and infiltration up at the top of the driveway in that, I don't know what that shading is, the hatching is at the bottom of the steep slope by the septic. So they're doing a little bit of work up there. As it comes down around the corner, they're doing a little bit into the northeast corner. And then what doesn't get picked up by those two, hopefully gets picked up by this last little one in the very south corner, which is not very big, but hopefully it doesn't have to handle too much. It's a difficult situation.
Yeah, thank you, Vinny. And the idea is that we're matching or reducing existing flows.
Okay.
And they still haven't obtained a driveway opening permit yet. So I think there's going to be a bit of review to confirm that there's not going to be an issue for icing and water in the road.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions, comments? Vinny, if they haven't obtained a driveway permit yet, are we being premature here to approve a design that might change?
No, well, they can go to either one first. Usually they would, they could do it at the same time, but one permit usually gets issued before the other, and we can make our approval contingent upon obtaining a driveway opening permit.
I'm bringing in.
And I could be wrong, but I believe the owner did have a driveway permit at one time. It may just be expired.
I'm bringing in Shiranjavi Bandi.
Yes, that's the owner applicant. Yep.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, actually we already have a driveway permit, but that got expired in the March. So we need like reapply for it.
Oh, okay, okay.
Was that permit for the driveway on the lot, or was that when you had the driveway off the lot?
No, it was like on the lot.
Okay, all right.
All right, so we still could make a contingent, Vinnie, right, an approval of that?
Yes, yes.
Which
And if
means
he already
consent.
has it and we make it a contingent, that's one done already.
Yep, okay,
But I'll check and make sure that whether it exists or not.
all right. Any more questions from the commission? Comments or concerns? Okay. All right. Vinnie, if you're good, you want to talk about the waivers first before we move this forward?
Yeah, if you want to go through the waivers, Mark.
Certainly. So I can,
Oh, good. That makes it easier.
can you actually see it on the screen? Yeah.
Yes.
These are the waivers requested, and we did it by section. So that so that it was laid out on what exactly we're asking for here. This first one is section 7. The first few are all the town regulations or bylaws, if I should say. So in this we note that the stormwater swale is not a true stormwater treatment swale because it does not meet the design criteria from the stormwater handbook. Because of the slopes here, it is impossible to actually have a treatment swale along the driveway that would meet appropriate grades to be considered a treatment swale. Next is, in layman's terms, a requirement to reduce total suspended solids or to reduce 90% thereof. In this case, we are doing as much as we possibly can to treat the stormwater. Like I said, we're not only infiltrating, but we're detaining the roof water, and we're then treating the driveway water with that driveway riprap swale with filter fabric, which then goes to infiltration basins. And whether they're considered infiltration basins or at the bottom, if it has water, it's considered a wet basin. Both of these devices alone account for 80% TSS removal. So we may not be reaching the full 90, but we are doing everything we can and getting relatively close to that standard. Next, it gets into some of the driveway layout. And this first one is a requirement that the driveways cannot be graded in such a way that it puts water onto the street. And in this case, it is physically impossible to not have the driveway grade into the street. So we are asking for that waiver there. There is no low point in the shoulder where we could redirect water before it reaches the street. This shoulder on Crawford Street in this location is straight up the hill. There is no roadside swale or drainage that we could tie into and direct the water. Next relates to 15% slopes or greater. And in this case, the entire site is actually greater than, or largely the entire site is greater than 15%. So we are seeking a waiver for clearing or disturbing land greater than 15%. Now we're down to, sorry, reading this quickly about seasonal high groundwater. The driveway entrance is a cut, as Vinnie noted, so we are likely into seasonal high groundwater there. Seasonal high groundwater is in this glacial till material is between 36 and 48 inches. It was actually a little deeper, between 40 and 48 inches on the site. So we are going to get into that water table that is seasonal, and it's physically impossible to stay above that while still constructing a driveway. And lastly, from the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook, Standard 3 relates to impervious area and infiltrating all impervious area. We're infiltrating as much as we can, and we're actually infiltrating more than needed for the roof area. But the lower section of the driveway is not truly getting infiltrated. So we're asking for a waiver there. And I apologize, I went through those rather quickly, but I'll certainly take questions or discuss any or all of these in more detail if you'd like.
So I'm just gonna throw this out there. I suspect I'm not the only one thinking that, but given the number of waivers, perhaps this lot just isn't buildable.
I had the exact same thought, Todd. But why would we grant all these waivers? I don't understand.
Well, it's a tricky, I'm not an attorney and it's a tricky legal procedure, but it is somewhat allowed by right, by zoning, but you know, I don't know the answer to that. I'm not going to play attorney tonight. I'm just an engineer. So I'm engineering the best possible solution that I can, and that's what I've presented to the commission.
I'm not seeing any upside to doing this.
It's like a lot of problems in the future, if you ask me.
And we've had these problems, all of them before. I mean, if you're looking for one waiver, that's something, but you got a page and a half of them.
Yeah, I'm not inclined to grant them. That's my opinion.
I would say rather than deny, if that's the intent of the board, that perhaps it gets run by town council just to see how this, you know, how this denial would be handled when this is allowed by right.
If you're threatening to sue us, just say that out loud.
I'm certainly not, and I'm not the owner, I'm not the applicant, I'm the engineer. So it's just a question rather than getting denied tonight.
I don't know if the town council is going to substitute his or her judgment for ours.
Fair enough.
Well, what about going back and redesigning so that we don't have this many waivers in front of us?
That I don't know is an option here. I mean, I designed as best I could. These are, you know, we have to cut into that hillside to construct that driveway. I've avoided, like I said, I've engineered the best possible solution that I can engineer. And again, we have to remember it's a single family house. We're mitigating flow, and the flow coming onto the road is being mitigated and is less than pre-existing conditions.
So Vinny, the flow on the road now as it exists in a close to natural environment, the flow on the road now is going to be greater than the flow on the road after we put in a bunch of impervious surface, build on a steep slope. That's what I'm hearing.
And technically, that's what his calculations showed. The calculations don't show that currently it's flowing over the whole frontage of the lot, whereas in the future, it kind of gets directed down by the way the driveway flows. So it's not exactly apples to apples.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be a one-to-one comparison.
Right. It's generally the way it's analyzed, but it's in general, when it's a wide area, it's allowed to be looked at as the point of interest being not just a single point, but let's say the west property line. But in this case, it might be causing a problem. It appears to be causing a problem.
Yeah, so in this case, whether you look at it as a point or a line, ultimately the point can be the downstream gutter on Crawford Street. And it isn't all coming in the driveway. We are spreading some of it with that upper swale. But we're also mitigating flows with those oversized infiltrators, and the pre-existing conditions, because it is so steep, is a lot of flow. So it's poor soils with steep slopes. So the pre-existing condition is a high runoff rate.
Right. And there's, if I remember right, I think there's a stone wall there that kind of creates a little buffer as well. It creates a little dam situation along the right-of-way line.
Tom Beals, what are your thoughts?
My comment would be that if we have a 6-foot cut and a 4-foot groundwater elevation, you're gonna have groundwater bleeding out in the side of that bank all springtime, and then it's gonna be running down into. I don't see that you're gonna mitigate that with that deep of a cut and water elevation. I understand it's glacial till, but water bleeds through glacial till. It finds its way through and it'll be out on the road.
My concern, obviously, is what happens to the water in the road. So all of our concern. Okay.
I think Crawford Road is an actual cut in the glacial till as well. And that's why it's so steep on that shoulder of the roadway.
So I guess we got a couple of options here. But if you have anything else you want to say, jump in. But I just want to kind of summarize this. Looks like we got a couple of options here. One option is that we voted tonight, and from what I've heard here, it doesn't seem very promising. Option B would be that you go back to the drawing board, and if you've already said that the pencil's been as sharp as you can make it, then that's it. But I think that's the only other option we have here, unless it's a third option, which I'm always listening to.
I think the only third option would be I would consult with the owner applicant and ask if they'd want to bring an attorney onto the project team just to, but other than that, I don't know. I'm sorry, there's not a, I'm sorry, there's not a better answer.
Okay. Go ahead, Todd.
I was going to say we would be welcome to hear what he or she had to say.
Yeah, I'm sorry, there's not a better answer, but engineering wise, there's really no more I can do.
What about?
Believe me, I'm not saying that to be I'm not saying that to be negative. I'm open to suggestions here if anyone has any ideas or anything like that.
So what about
Go ahead, Tom.
What about a trench drain at the end of the driveway with a reinjection gallery at the end of the driveway? You're just going to have to make a bigger cut.
We could certainly look at that. There's just nowhere to outlet the. There's nowhere to outlet the.
I understand that, but if you have minimal, with your other retention spots that you have, it's just going to be either groundwater bleed out or it's going to be, surface runoff on the last 40 feet of the driveway. I don't know what the soils conditions are at 9 feet down from there, but might be an alternative to stop the water from going onto Crawford Street. And again, you would have to make a bigger cut at some sort of injection gallery there. But so what if you're 20 feet or 30 feet out of that bank and to make enough room to have a retention area for just that end of the driveway? That's my thought.
Yeah, we could look at, if I bring up the plan again.
I do have a retention area down at the bottom.
Even that retention area is in a big cut, but we could make that larger.
Maybe we can look.
It's a few, I kept it a few feet above, if I zoom in here, I kept it a few feet above road grade so that it would work a little bit better, but we could look at lowering it and making it bigger. Right now, the bottom of it's at 384 and the street elevation is somewhere around, I think 382 right there.
Yeah.
Can you folks still see the screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. So
This-
my
this con-
suggestion
this con-
to you
this
would
contour here is-
be so my suggestion would be to make like a 40 or 50-foot cut right there and move that down to the edge of the street and put a trench drain right across the driveway so that you don't have any run to the street. It's more excavation, but if you want to develop property, you know, that's what you're going to have a huge excavation as it is. What's another 200 yards?
So you're thinking of almost creating the drainage gutter along the street that would normally be there?
The downside is it wouldn't drain, but at least one frontage would have the roadside swale. Is that kind of where you're going?
No, I think he's talking about a French drain, like an underground French drain along that shoulder. Well, off the shoulder, but that's work within the right of way, which we haven't.
No.
I don't know if we can do that.
I'm saying you do it on site.
Okay.
You know, you just have to keep your driveway a little bit flatter coming in, and if you take 50 or 60 feet of that whole bank out and make yourself enough room for an injection gallery and put a trench drain right across, a graded drain right across the 3 feet in from the end of the driveway, and have it go into an injection gallery. You stop any of the groundwater runoff that's going to come out into the street.
But I guess there's two options.
I
could run it-
understand the soils.
So if I run it in the street, like I said, it would be in the right of way, but we could create the roadside swale gutter in the right of way. If I went to the back of the wall to do it on property, we can certainly run it along the back side of the wall. But the wall is 8 or even 10 feet higher than the road. So there's no way I'm gonna be able to get the last part of that driveway to drain into it.
Right. Right. You're not going to, I don't think you're going to be able to get the whole driveway, but if you can get from your property line over to go in, that's the improvement we're looking for, because that's going to take whatever would be weeping out. But your proposed elevation on the driveway is 384, and you go in the drawing just up from that, and it looks like it's a 394. So it's like 384 to 392. So you're already in a serious cut.
Well, we're already in a serious cut, and if you look at this, if you look at the plan,
The flow that's not gonna enter this small basin is from
halfway between the 386 and 388 contour. So we're really only talking about a small section of driveway that's not already entering a treatment device.
So it's really not a long length.
And Mark, I've got a Fernando Janke with their hand up. Is that?
Yes,
Yes, he is representing the owner applicant. If you want to allow him in, that would be helpful.
Thank you. So Janke, you should be coming in. Hello.
You may just need a second. I know when I get let in, the screen changes, so you need a second to unmute yourself. Fernando, if you look at the left, you might have to hit unmute, the bottom left corner of the screen.
Hey, hello
Unmute
guys.
video.
Hello guys. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yeah. So, hi. So I'm Fernando Yankee. I'm the builder that the Chiru and Maggie have hired to build this house. So let me just say something like maybe we missed out on some piece of information. So this lot before used to be 4 lots. Used to be like one large lot, and someone has split that into 4. And particularly where Mike, if you move the screen a little bit to see where the house location is, we used to have a house over there, and we demoed the house and to build the house. So as of now, and you can see that we used to have this driveway that now is in a in a neighbor's property, and to access this property, the house where he is now, we used to have a house was like pretty much located in the same position. The house was like the front of the house. I mean, the back of the house is now the front of our house. So our house now is what, like maybe 40 feet towards the back side of the lot. And that's a kind of a, what you have. And then when you guys were asking about the driveway permit, and we applied for the driveway permit, got a driveway permit, and the slope we had was pretty much this one. Let me see if I can share my screen here and show. I'm kind of new to this stuff. I don't even know how to do that. Can someone give him some guidance how to share share
I may have the bottom center, or Fernando, is share screen. I'll stop mine just in case you need me to stop mine. But right next to participants to the right, bottom center, you should be able to share screen.
Okay, let me see here. Share screen. All right. So
we can see it. We can see it now.
All right. So this is what we had before. Let's go back to what. Oh my goodness. All right. Oop. All right. So that's the driveway permit we had before, 311 Crawford. Right. Driveway. And the drawing used to do that was this one. As you can see, Mark pretty much got the same, same driveway we had. I think we just put more stormwater management devices over here, and the location of the other house used to be like right over here. So now we move this where the house is towards the back here, and to avoid a better slope in the driveway, to access the the garage. And now, as Mark was saying, we're trying to do our best with the site here. The customer has purchased this property like a long time ago, and I think he spent like $300,000 for the lot. And we demoed the house that we had here. We put the well in place here. So now it's a kind of hard for us, I mean, I'm only the builder, but maybe the owner would like to say something. But if you say that this lot's not buildable, will be very, very bad. I think he's all like very close, like $350,000 already spent on the development on the site.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are my kind of my comments.
Okay, good. Good. Thank you. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, back to our discussion here. I still think we have those two options in front of us, Mark. We've got, Tom gave you some ideas about maybe a possible redesign, or we move ahead with what's in front of us now and we vote it and go from there. I don't know if the owner has a preference or if the commission has any more comments, but
Yeah, I mean, certainly if it's a matter of adding a trench drain to help get this approved, we can certainly do that.
So, and just to add on to Mark, the idea of looking at a trench drain, we can maybe look at that. If we can continue this hearing to the next meeting, I can talk to Mark a little more and see if we can come up with some other options, really kind of verify what's going on out there, maybe meet at the site and take a look at it. And look at the soils a little better. So those are some of the issues that we probably could address.
yeah, and Vinny, it boils down to, to make the site buildable right now, we have a whole slew of waivers. And
Yes.
that's not gonna fly, I don't believe. So, I mean, those waivers have got to come down from whatever they're at, 4, 5, 7, 9 to, 0, 1, 2. I mean, it's gotta be something, a significant change. And maybe there's no solution. And that's a total redesign of maybe a common driveway or something. I don't know, but what's here is not passing muster, what we're hearing tonight.
I don't think the trench drain will change the list of waivers required. I only say that in an effort not to have the owner continue to spend money on engineering only to end up with the same result. But I'm, cautious to say that because I certainly don't want to see a denial either.
I would be okay with some waivers, but waiver water running into the street off of the site when you don't have it now is an issue. And that waiver is a no, as far as I'm concerned.
Through the chair,
You
just to
have water
clarify.
bleeding out in the street from
Just to clarify, there is water running in the street now, and we are not exacerbating that condition. We are mitigating peak flow. So it is a current condition now that we are matching or making better.
Vinny, on a denial, what is the option of the applicant on a denial? I mean, there's no greater authority than us here. There's no DEP to go to. There's no other group, is there, right?
Well, this is a local bylaw, so I think it goes to court.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it goes to court. And that's why I think I'd like to try to see what we can get, see if there's some way of making some improvements. I mean, that using the northeast corner after the last meeting, Mark made some improvements with that. I'm not sure if it's a possibility to do more and see if whatever it is there is enough. And then getting the treatment for that slope and the driveway coming in the entrance. I mean, those are the big issues, really. The driveway entrance is the key, and the idea of getting access into this lot. Because the old lot, the driveway used to come in through the existing drive. You can kind of see it on the plan in the lower left. You can see where the old driveway was, and that was starting at a point on the road that is probably 6 feet higher, or maybe, about 6 feet higher, and then coming into that to that house. So that's part of where you're losing it. 6 feet right there.
That's about level there, Vinny.
It looks like the contour you have in there is 390, 388. And I assume that it goes to 386 at the road, and you're coming in at 382, is it?
It's only a couple of feet.
Right here is our 388 and 386 right here. And now we are, 384. But it's up, the road will go downwards. So it's like, I mean, it's the same level. So, I mean, when you go over there, like we have this driveway existing already. And what we're going to do over here is like, it's pretty much the same slope we have here, but just, instead of using a common driveway, we, trying to get access to do the driveway on our property. Back in the day, like when you demoed the house, when I was speaking to Bob Frederico about the building permit here, we had an issue because originally you were trying to have a driveway coming off this lot over here because the owner's got an easement on this property over here to do a driveway coming from here, and we had a problem with the building department because we need to seek a special permit because this lot over here doesn't meet the frontage requirements for the driveway. You need to have at least, I think, northward 150 feet. So that's why we changed the driveway from over here to be over here. We're talking about like 30 feet of driveway that we slightly changed to be on the owner's property. But I mean, the elevation is still the same.
Well, is the owner still on the phone, Mr. Bondi?
Yes, we are.
Well, you've heard the discussion tonight, sir. What would you prefer us to do? Would you like us to vote it tonight? Or do you want to go ahead and continue to July and see if maybe something different can be worked out that's a little more acceptable to the commission?
So, sir, we would like you to help us obtain this permit. And as the owners ourselves, we trust the engineer. We have full trust on the board. We have full trust on the contractor we have hired. And provided we take all the measurements and have this lot buildable with the proper guidelines as we received. So we would advise, or we would ask the board to help us have the approval.
Sounds to me like a continuance to July, with then some work with Vinny and Mark and whoever else gets involved in that.
Yeah, if it's a question of a continuance or a denial tonight, I think we'd prefer to continue. Thank you.
Okay. I need a motion to continue.
I will make that motion.
I have like a quick question. Like once the engineer has like done all the changes, and once again, like all the exceptions are there, it's still the same. So will that be like a yes or no during that time? Because I think like we have like 6 or 7 exceptions like now, waiver forms. I think like maybe after a month, there may be like the same thing going on, maybe like 6 or 7. Like what will be the case in that time? Because we like spent like almost like 350K, and we are almost like spending like more. So just want to like make sure of that.
So I'll be straight with you right now. I don't see a way that you're going to get this vote from me unless you make substantial changes on the waiver list. The fact that you bought the property without knowing the answer to these questions, while upsetting and not good, isn't the commission's issue.
Yes.
But as far as that we are aware, when the property was sold, there was never a question of the stormwater permit. And after, when we started applying for the building permit, that's when this thing has come up. So we are not even sure how the lot was divided and how it was allowed to sold without the stormwater thing done on the property before. So that's kind of surprising for us, because this is what we are dealing now at the moment, but it wasn't part of this before, right?
Talk to your attorney.
I'm with Todd. I think it's an unfortunate situation, but I agree with Todd. Unless that list can change, I can't support the project.
Okay. We had a motion to continue.
Would it be acceptable to hear opinions of any of the other commissioners, or is that not acceptable at this time? Would that be too much like a vote?
Well, I tell you, my opinion is pretty much what you've heard from the existing commissioners. I'd like to see that list brought way down.
Thank you.
I think you can make that work. You just gotta do a little bit more to get that entranceway changed a little bit. I think it's doable, but it's just gonna require a little more effort at the entrance, is my opinion. And then I would be okay with the other waivers.
All right, we have a motion to continue. I believe we have a second, and we've started the vote, and I believe we got as far as Dan Clark, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Tom Beals.
Yes.
Diane Gouldner.
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
I vote yes. We are continued until July 10th.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. You know Vinny's number, so Vinny's your guy that you want to talk to pretty soon.
My new best friend, Vinny.
New best friend, Vinny. My cousin, Vinny. There you go. Okay, very good. Good.
All right,
Thank
we'll
you,
see you
Mark.
later.
Thank you. Okay. Just doing some work here. All right, let's see, what else do we have? Then our last,
78, no, 78 West Main Street.
78 West
There.
Main Street.
Are they still hanging on? Brian Waterman, is he there?
Anybody on from 2878 West Main Street? I don't think so. Good Goddard Consulting. Two Goddard Consultings.
I think one Goddard Consulting would be the 210 Brewer.
That's Zoe, I think, is doing that
Yes.
one. That's the
Yeah.
violation. I'm not sure about Natalie M.
Oh, Natalie might be 78 West Main. I forget.
Well, they're gonna, it's a continuation, right? They requested.
They've requested a continuance, yes.
All right.
But,
Well,
all right.
let's just move ahead and continue it.
All right, no
We
one
should
has
check
their
with-
hand up.
No hand up.
I move to continue it.
Continue 78 West
Second.
Main.
78 West Main Street. Okay. 78 West Main Street, we're talking about continuation to July. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Tom Beals,
Yes.
Diane Gouldner,
Yes,
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
I vote yes. 78 is continued. 78 West Main is continued to July. All right. License request, Bigelow Nurseries off Whitney Street.
Yes, that one, we don't need to really get into too much plan or any of that stuff. This is the existing license for Bigelow Nurseries. In the discussions about issuing another license to the property over at 2020 West Street, it was found that we don't have a signed license for the Bigelow Nurseries property on Whitney, off of Whitney Street, access through 154 Whitney. So I drafted an updated license, same requirements, same standards, make it a 3-year term with the same payment of $2,000 worth of goods. And I just wanted to see if the board had questions or if they wanted to consider renewing this license for the horticultural operations of Bigelow Nurseries.
did anyone ask them if they wanted that property?
I did not contact them, but in the back area there still have operations ongoing. Not in the area where we walked up front, but if you went back through the opening that towards the, what was it, the northeast, there is still areas being used.
Do you know what they're growing back there?
I don't, trees and bushes, but I don't know what types.
Okay.
Well, I would say, we should definitely reach out to them and do the renewal.
So we would vote to authorize the renewal, and if they decide not to do it, we just don't execute it?
Yeah,
So
and
we don't
it's
have to wait another
closed.
month?
We authorize, if they accept it, then we move forward as listed. If they don't authorize it, then we throw it away.
So what happened in the past was the town would get trees or whatever from them in lieu of payment for the use of the property. And I don't know that that's been exercised at all recently.
It has. DPW staff have been going there and they keep a record of the what's been purchased or been obtained, and then they figure out how much is left. And they usually do it for the flowers and all the stuff for Memorial Day and 4th of July. And some of the bushes and things that they've used, I think down at the bridge over on Church Street, I think they use some for
Right.
that as well.
So the only thing that we haven't done is really the paperwork.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
the last one that I saw expired in 2018. But everybody's been honoring the same agreement and still operating as if it were in place. So I'm just trying to make the paper trail real.
This would be good for 3 years.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
So do we need a motion or are we just going to renew?
You can
I
vote
make a
on,
motion to renew.
yeah, motion to renew, right?
Yep.
I just made it.
Okay, is there a second?
So move.
Dan Clark,
Yes.
Tom Beals,
Yeah.
Diane Gouldner,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
and I vote yes. It's renewed.
Thank you.
All right.
Great.
Informal discussions items. Anything here you want to talk to Vinny in detail or?
No, just updates. Things are posted as a narrative posted about the forest fire that occurred in April up at Mount Pisgah recreational area. It's on the Town Conservation Commission website as well as the Trails Commission's website and their Slack and Facebook, their Facebook page.
Okay.
And then if anyone doesn't, any questions on that one? And the next
No.
item was forest management at Edmund Hill. I sent out the request for quotes as of May 19th. And I think I'm going to get 3, if not 4 applications in the next week. If I don't get anything in the next couple of days, I'm going to be calling them directly. I have their numbers and they already expressed interest. So I'm pretty confident that we'll get something on this one.
Nice.
Update on the 95 Lincoln Street outdoor classroom construction. It's most of the earth moving work has been done and they're going to be planting the landscaping, I think, in the next couple of weeks. So if anyone wants to swing by there and see what it looks like. I looked at it a couple of weeks ago and it was in construction and they looked good. They were doing a good job compacting the materials, the dust, the stone dust.
That's all volunteer labor, Vinny, too, isn't it? Isn't it?
It's a volunteer, yes.
Parents of children at the school have the equipment and the know-how?
Yes, yep. It worked out very well.
Okay. Indian Meadow.
There was a violation there. There was a citizen, the owner, had an old order of conditions that had expired and he just started doing the work and a neighbor notified me and I went out and he's apologized and said he will refile and once he goes through the process, then he'll be doing the construction.
All right. Violations, right?
Yep, we have, I think Zoe from Goddard
Zoe is
Consulting is here for 210 Brewer Street. We talked about that where they had removed a lot of vegetation and dumped some brush and things into the wetlands. So she's going to give us an update.
Zoe's coming in.
Hey, everyone.
Hi, Zoe.
Hi, Zoe with Goddard Consulting, representing the homeowner Natalino Silva. So yeah, just here to provide some updates since the last hearing regarding the violation on 210 Brewer Street. There was some clearing and work that took place within jurisdictional resource areas. The homeowner has been extremely diligent to have these issues corrected and get on the right path, very responsive. All work has stopped and erosion controls have been put in place per the commission's request, or we will be filing an after the fact notice of intent for the patio and the work that took place. And we actually received some site plans that we wanted to share with the commission, if that's okay, to brainstorm some mitigation ideas and get some feedback.
Yeah, you want to share your screen if you have those?
Yeah. All right. Can everyone see the site plan?
Yeah, a little bit small, Zoe, but there we go. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a little bit small and there's a lot going on. I wasn't able to color it in, but if y'all stick with me, I can kind of run everyone through it. So 210 Brewer Street, I'm going to zoom in the northern portion of the site here. So you come in through Brewer Street, here's the driveway, existing house. Ignore where this says porch, that's just part of the house. I need to have the surveyor fix that on the plan. Existing deck, pool, patio, deck, shed, and then I'll get into what was added in a minute. I do want to point out the bordering vegetated wetlands that are on site. So starting over here in the corner, everyone can see my mouse, right? Over here on the western portion of the site, comes around the back of the pool, following the flags, the finger coming down back here. And then back here, there is another bordering vegetated wetland in the rear of the property down here. The 25 and the 35-foot buffer lines are shown here. And let's see. So there was a patio right here. This section was added within the 35-foot buffer. There was also some clearing that took place in this general area over here, some back here. The surveyor actually picked up a limit of disturbance line, which is pretty helpful. So if you follow my mouse here, limit of disturbance, and then kind of comes up. I'll start back here again. Oh, right here, limit of disturbance in this general area here. Another thing that I want to point out are the erosion controls that were put in. So along this darker hashed line are the erosion controls. Now, so let's see if I'm forgetting anything. Okay, so the applicant intends to remove the brush out of the wetlands and those areas that I mentioned before. Ideally, the homeowner would like to keep the patio addition here. However, he does understand that it does not comply with the bylaw regulations. He does intend to remove the fill out of the wetland and submit a planting plan to stabilize this area here behind the patio. And this is where like the fill is located as well. An idea for mitigation is putting a conservation restriction on this southern portion of the locust site over here. The homeowner sent me a picture today and the area is doing really well, very green, already revegetating on its own. You know, so recognizing that there are already structures within the 35-foot, the fill will be removed, planting plan and seeding in this area here to stabilize this area, and then putting a conservation restriction on this area, I think would be a good plan to have a nice vegetated buffer between the highway and the house and the wetlands. For some immediate next steps, unless there are any strong objections, we're thinking to go ahead and loam and seed. So there's existing lawn in the front portion of the house here, and then it comes around, there's lawn right between the limit of disturbance line and the deck, it's all lawn. So there's exposed dirt where my mouse is following here. So not in the driveway, over here. To put some loam and grassy just to stabilize the area and prevent any erosion from happening. So to summarize, the homeowner has been on top of this issue. We plan to submit a remediation plan with an NOI as soon as possible. The homeowner is very sorry for what happened, and we would just love to get some feedback from the commission to come to a resolution. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Zoe. Whitney, what are your thoughts? Start with you.
Well, my first thought is that I don't know that we want to let him keep the patio there, since I don't think we would have given them permission to do it in the first place. The commission's got to consider the idea that it's within the 25-foot zone. It was a garden. There was some vegetation there. So I don't know that we need to make it return back to just a wild 25-foot no alteration zone or no disturb zone. But having a slab in there and then the fill, I didn't really, I was hoping we get more of a restoration plan for the areas that were filled, the soil and fill that was done near the patio, as well as the filling associated with the area farther to the south across the wetlands where the big brush pile was. And then the area of fill in the very back along the Route 290. I was expecting to see where the wetland was before it got filled to have some evaluation and look at the soils to see what was wetland, and then take out all the brush and yard wastes that have been dumped into those areas to return them to the natural condition. And then as far as doing the work around the yard, I think we want to make sure that there are limits so that it doesn't happen again, whether we put up a fencing. I know he wants to put up fencing to have a safety fence around the pool, but I'm thinking we need to have some barrier so that future encroachment of the wetlands doesn't occur. So that's the kind of things I was looking for restoration and remediation. So I wasn't sure if the commission had other thoughts or lesser conditions or more.
Thoughts, comments? Tom Beals.
I have, my other thought would be, what about a 2-to-1 restoration out where the back disturbance occurred and leave the concrete as it is instead of re-disturbing this whole thing all over again. But that's just my opinion. I don't disagree with you. If there was stuff dumped in the back, that needs to be pulled back out. The center of that has always been like an upland, so obviously, they have a right to use it. And I would take a conservation restriction on it, as part of it. But, my thought would be maybe they just do a 2-to-1 restoration and on the backside.
And leave the concrete patio in. Right, Tom? Leave the patio alone.
It's the damage is done. So let's see if we can mitigate it maybe another way where the wetlands was disturbed on the back corner. Let's do a replication area out there and and go with the conservation restriction.
More comments? Okay.
Yeah, I guess I was expecting sort of more of a plan, so I'm not really sure. I do like where Vinny's headed, some of his ideas. I mean, the problem with allowing the patio is basically say, well, you can ignore our bylaws and just apologize afterwards and everything will be okay. I think you could remove that and restore that area too, back to what it was before. So it's not like you can't restore it. But I don't know. Yeah, I guess some more details would be
an
helpful.
alternative.
He's always looking for some input here, some feedback, which I think we're giving her on that side.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, I like the idea of the mitigation plan too.
My concern is we just threw the book at the guy before about wanting all the waivers that we weren't going to grant waivers. We would never have allowed this if he'd come before us.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
So I don't, that's why I'm not really, not real excited about the idea of letting them keep it. Otherwise, we'll just tell those other people they should just build a house and come ask for forgiveness.
Yep.
But I'm willing, I mean, if you put something in and you blow me away with the mitigation, I'll consider it.
Yeah, sure. And, you know, today I was just here to just provide some general updates. I wasn't really, you know, prepared with a plan at this time. And kind of just looking to, you know, conversate and get some ideas to see what would satisfy the commission. And I thought that, you know, the conservation restriction area would be, you know, a great mitigation alternative to something like this. But, you know, the applicant fully understands like what the situation is and how it was built in the 35 foot, you know, considering that, you know, the deck and the shed are there. And if we're able to, you know, get that fill out around there and restore it with some nice native plantings and seeding and stabilize it, you know, we don't believe that it would negatively affect the wetlands. And then, you know, doing that 2-to-1 restoration in the back is a great idea. We can do that, you know, as a part of the conservation restriction in the back. But yeah, all just good ideas to, you know, make things right.
You put a worm in the hook and threw it in the pond, you got some bites here, right? So you got some input to think about and put a plan together. But I think you see where the commission's coming from for the most part.
For sure, yeah.
Yep, that would be good. I apologize, I just had to step away, but when I hear the idea of a conservation restriction on that back property, I don't see the sense in doing that. I think the commission is not really getting anything out of that. The property owner can let it revegetate and do whatever he wants to do on there to maintain it, but I'm not sure what the benefit is to the Conservation Commission. It's we're going to have to keep an eye on it, monitor the restriction. I would like to see more of the wetland restoration work in the area that's in that middle wetland, the wetland at the middle of the area, pulling out that brush, maybe enlarging that, digging into that hill a little to make the 2-to-1 restoration on the wetland that's connected to the area where the fill was placed around the patio, and not just have it all in that back corner where it isn't really associated with the area where the fill was put in.
Would you actually, I'm sorry, would you actually remind repeating that for me? The last part.
Yeah, the area where I see to the down left, yeah, right there where your arrow is pointing, the limit of disturbance, it looked like the brush was in a lot more pointed of a orientation as opposed to that broad, flatter area parallel to the wetland edge. So it looked like it was more dumped into more of a pile that went farther out. So I would want to find the edge of the wetland in there and then restore that area underneath the pile that was taken out, and possibly do any regrading if needed within that area to the south. And then the area up near, the area to the south of back where you were. If there needs to be some restoration, the restoration should happen where the dumping occurred, not in an isolated area out in the back. And the area, I would still keep the 25-foot no disturbance areas. I think he's going to need that access on the east side, the east property line, where that erosion control line is. Yeah, right in there. He's going to need some access to get through there, but that would have to be limited. There'd have to be like permanent signs, maybe a fence installed so that we don't get any more encroachment for there, and bring a fence or like a real barrier all the way around to the chicken coop so that we don't get any further encroachments. But I'm looking for it, yeah, that way, something around there, yeah.
Okay,
Zoe, you think you're gonna file next month? You're gonna be ready for July or not?
we're hoping so.
Yeah, because I'm getting questions and comments from the owner saying he wants to get his pool opened up for the summer and he wants to put a fence up. And I've told him that we need to have a plan submitted before he can do anything out there within 100 feet.
Yep.
So he's been
Good.
saying that he's waiting for you. So you're getting it on both ends here.
Yeah.
Right. Does that help, Zoe?
It does help. I did have one question regarding this area over here. So I think, so there is some like clippings in this area over here that the homeowner was saying that the neighbors were throwing over here, and he's happy to remove it out of there. Will the commission be looking for a restoration plan in this area as well, or just to remove what's there now?
I would say you've filled wetland, you need to restore it. I mean, I'm not sure. I guess it's up to the commission what the commission thinks, but it seems pretty cut and clear.
Clean it out and bring it back to what it was.
All right. Well, thank you everyone so much. This was definitely helpful. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Zoe.
Thank you.
All right. What else, Vinny? We have another guarded person here, Natalie M. We still have.
She's on something I just can't remember. I apologize.
Okay.
Do you know what that one's for, Zoe, for Natalie?
I thought she was watching for bridle path that happened earlier.
Oh,
She might just still be
okay.
lingering.
Okay, that's fine.
Then we'll move on. Fine. Good. All right. That's all I have, Vinny.
Yep, that's good. Everything else were just updates that I sent out in the package.
Good. Okay. Anything the commission wants to bring up? How about vacations in July? Anybody going to be planned to be on vacation July 10th? No? No?
Sadly,
No? No? Okay, great. I think we're ready to go.
Yep, and we're looking for, we have the opening. We look for someone who's interested
Yes.
in
Yes.
Conservation Commission position.
no applicants so far.
Not yet.
Nothing yet.
Okay.
So if you know of anybody who can bring something to the table, here we go.
We gotta find somebody
That's
like Clark and twist his arm.
Like Dan Clark?
Find somebody like Dan Clark and
right.
twist his arm.
That's right. That's right. That's how Todd got Justin, right? Didn't he twist his arm on that one? I think.
That's it.
All right, folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about the long agenda.
No
all
worries.
right.
We knew it was going to be. We knew it was going to be a long one. We knew that. Oh, anything surprising next month? Then you know it coming in. Anything big coming in?
Nope. No, I've got a couple things that are small. They keep saying they're coming and they haven't arrived yet.
Okay. Fair enough. Need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Dan Clark,
Yes.
Tom Beals,
Yes.
Diane Goldner,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Thank you, Vinny. Thank you, Owen.
Thank you very much.
Guys.
Good night, all.
Night,
Good
everyone.
night.
I